Because I've answered this so many times. You can all read it in my new book, Hollywood Monster. October 13th, all right? Check it out, yeah. So I throw the ball to Ronnie, except that I think that Charlie might have been the illegitimate love child between Wes Craven and one of the girls at audition. All right.
Well, my situation was that I was at the time living at the Alcott Hotel in New York in a suite with Anita Lucioni, who had been my ex-husband's secretary, and she was Wes's secretary.
Oh.
And she thought that I should play the part, so I know that John was already cast, John Saxon, and they were looking for money, and they thought they could raise money with my name at that time, and so they asked me to do it, and the only thing was they didn't know if I could be old enough to play Nancy's mother. So I went to meet Wes to try to prove to him that I could be old enough, play old enough. And
That's right, because I remember when I heard your name, Ronnie was everybody's ingenue in our no, but if you said Ronnie Blakely's name back then, we all thought of you as an ingenue. I remember that, yeah.
Well.
No, but I mean, it's true. I mean,
well, thanks, Robert.
I know, but I know what she's saying, because you lose. Everybody here's lost a part for being too young or being too old.
Yeah.
and I know what she's saying is I can just see Ronnie thinking, oh God, I got to play this, alcoholic mom, and that's not how anybody saw you at that time.
I didn't audition. I'm a stunt woman, and I got a call from Tony Caesar, who's the stunt coordinator, and he said, I need somebody who looks different. I don't think that's a compliment, but I'm glad he chose me.
I think didn't we all read for Nancy at first? I think that was the only part.
Right.
Yeah.
And
so we read that, and I don't know. It was just an audition. Somebody called. I went, and I actually saw Heather there that day. We didn't know each other yet then.
Right.
And then at the call back, they paired us up, and me as Tina, and then they had sides for Tina, and then we just read together. And I don't know. I had the same feeling as Heather. I was like, why would they cast anybody else? We were awesome. We were great together. And then we were friends ever since, so it was good casting.
yeah, we clicked immediately.
Yeah.
I think.
Great.
Right there.
This is a question for the whole cast. What are your thoughts on the remake, and what do you want them to stay true to in comparison to the original, and what do you want them to change?
Well, if we're going to talk fantasies, why don't we talk about unity and world communications? Because in reality, none of us have, maybe Robert,
No.
I don't think any of us have anything to do with it.
I got no juice either.
I don't think any of us are even in it. So I'm wishing well and hope it scares a lot of people. But it will never touch the original. Compliments to Jack Hill. He's a good actor, but there's only been one Beatles. You know what I mean? There's only one Beatles. You can't do it again. Even with the children, it doesn't work.
You know, it's so hard to make a movie in Hollywood. It's hard to get the money. It's hard to get everything together. It's hard to get everyone at the same location. And so one side of me thinks, more power to them to make a movie these days in Hollywood. It's tough. And the other part of me is like, wow, they have such a great story already, and look at all that we've already laid this great foundation. So I'm keeping a really open mind, because I actually would like to see a Nightmare on Elm Street that I didn't know, like, what was going to happen next and what's going to happen in that scene. Maybe it'll be a Nightmare on Elm Street that I can actually get scared at. It'd be great.
Maybe diplomatic, Heather.
No, Heather and I were talking about this earlier, and it's not karma. We understand Hollywood, and Hollywood's been doing remakes since day one. They remade Stagecoach, they remade King Kong. I love Peter Jackson. When I heard that Peter Jackson was doing King Kong, I was excited, and I saw the film, and I thought there were some real problems with the casting. I love Naomi Watts, but that's supposed to be a child, in that role, an innocent that goes to Kong Island and is exploited by that producer and that crew. And Naomi is older than Jack Black, you know, and he's supposed to be the jaded, corrupt cynic. And I'm not quite, and I love Adrian Brody. Come on, I've seen The Pianist, but you know, I don't even know what his character was in that film, because he wasn't heroic, and he didn't fulfill that part of the menu in terms of casting. But then I'm sitting in the big Newport, down where I live, which is one of the best theaters for spectacular films. You can enjoy a film and it's projected correctly, and it's got ultra stereophonic digital, you know, George Lucas, you know, implant sound that they put in your butt. So I'm happy to, you know, see a film there, and then the ending came on, and Kong is on that skyscraper, and the biplanes are circling him, and Jackson had the courage to cut the sound out, and it was this sublime ballet, and I was so moved. So I can still come back, and I can still encourage remakes, and I can still encourage sequels. Who in this room wouldn't want to have lived without seeing the bitch fight with Sigourney Weaver and that female alien? Huh? My God, I love the original, but that's the best of the films. And you know, it's like Betty Davis and Joan Crawford in outer space. It's great shit. And so what, you know, you have to be careful when you say, oh, sequels and all this. We make sequels because you guys like characters that we invent when we tell you stories. And we make so many good movies that nobody goes to see, that fall through the cracks. And you discover them 10 years later or something, because everybody can't help but buy into the hype. And so when you make a sequel and it's successful, you're paying for other good movies that you will eventually discover. And you're paying the salaries of cameramen and directors and writers of other movies that get made. This is what Heather was saying about how difficult it is to get a movie. So I'm curious, and I am positive about the new Nightmare on Elm Street, because Michael Bay could do anything he wants in the world. He has more money than God. And he wants to put some of that money into Nightmare on Elm Street. It's not because he needs any more money. He must love the franchise. He must. And Wes has obviously made peace with it. And everybody here loves Wes, and will tell you that Wes Craven has integrity. And Wes Craven is also a savvy, practical pragmatist and commercial filmmaker. And I have been a fan of Jackie Earle Haley since a movie called Breaking Away, about the bicycle racers. And he's like one of the first actors in the last 50 years of America that did a comment on our class system, you know, in America, that we won't talk about, you know, middle class, rich people, poor people. We don't talk about